I was your average veterinarian, working in the darkest and dirtiest office that the state had allowed. I wasn't exactly careless before, it's just that my life was so average and ordinary that I achieved no heights, or had any on the horizon. Recently I'd hit 40, half my life wasted treating dogs that are more likely to bite your hand than shake it and thank you. You get a nasty bite in this city, and your job's done, it's over. It's not like I had much work anyway. Most of the time, it was really boring. I lived in a neighbourhood where you're much more likely to get shot for a few dollars than you are to see an animal. And if some get sick, the locals would rather shoot it down and be done with it. I mean, why buy another when you can pick up one of the wild ones you see on the street? I remember my father once said, "Bron, get your degree and start working. Do a good job, you'll get off. Leave the hellhole, start yourself a new life." To hell with that. It was getting kind of boring at one point, and then I just decided to start working outside, you know? Keep my hands steady and working. I picked some street cats up, and I cut them open. Started checking their anatomy out. At some point, my little clients had noticed the pickled cat brains. After that, even those few clients I had stopped showing up. Hell, even the muggers wouldn't dare look my way. They all thought I was crazy. That's when I started to get devoted to the little hobby of mine though. Got myself a fancy microscope, started checking out how stuff works in a feline brain. Turns out those little bastards are kinda lively. Okay, well maybe the whole 9 lives thing is kinda too much, but I did pick up several tricks during my university days. I figured that with enough tampering I could make a person's brain just pop the man back to life. Wonder of wonder. Exactly 9 times. Of course, had I brought this up in any official environment, I would have been labelled crazy and my methods would be called sadistic. I might even get my place shut down, maybe even a sentence for animal violence. It's not like the old days at all. I decided that the best course of action would be to try it on myself. Problem being, you can't just operate on your own brain, so I asked my assistant, a lively young fellow. Told him, I'd found a way to enhance vision by splicing up some feline and human brain centres. I told him though to be extra careful, because if he missed a cat, I'd go blind. Well, that was enough to keep the young hothead level-headed. He kinda reminded me of me when I was young. He had the same expectations to hit it high as well. The surgery was a success, it seemed. The cat unfortunately died due to complications, but my own body healed up like for the first time in my life. I was lucky. It literally took a couple of weeks to heal up. The problem was though, I wasn't exactly willing to test it out. When it comes to being immortal, you only really get one chance. One day though, I just had to do it. So I picked up some rat poison that I always have around and I popped it into my tea. Then I drank it down. Holy shit, that was painful. I blacked out with the amount of pain I was in. It was excruciating. Moments later though, my eyes opened wide and I felt like I was born again. I had a look at my watch. It'd only take me 15 minutes to come back from the Undertaker. This was huge. And I had 8 more lives to have fun with. To hit it big, I decided to make a name for myself. I put up a bunch of posters all around the city, even the rich districts and the central ones. A man should jump from the tallest building around and rise after just 15 minutes. It raised a lot of commotion initially, but then everyone thought it was just a trick, and they just gathered to see it anyway. Somehow, even the mayor was convinced to allow the event. I remember though, it was so windy on top of that building. Everyone looked so small and surprised. There was a lot of firefighters and ambulances. This was hitting it huge, I thought. And then I took a step into the sky. For the audience, it must have been quite the view. A man falling for like 10 seconds, and then splattering into the ground like a sack of potatoes. I heard my body even jumped off the pavement a little. Everyone started screaming and shouting, and the ambulance men ran up and confirmed the death. They just kept standing just as instructed though. 15 minutes passed. The ambulance decided to try and take me away, so I popped my head up and smiled. I stood up and did ta-da thing. Once again, I felt like I'd been newly born. The media swallowed me up. This hit all the news, the web, and all of the video sharing sites on the internet. I became the next big thing. I mean, the papers even named me Mr. Immortal. For the first time in my life, I was something. I just had to keep these performances going, and this time I was going to do it for money. For $1 million, I was shot down in South Korea, drowned in China for 5, the Japanese cut me up for 5, the English paid me $2 million for getting hanged, and the French tested rat poison on me again. The Americans, they even tested a bomb in the area I was in for $50 million. All those times though, I got up after 15 minutes alive and kicking, smiling at some points. I gathered an amazing fortune with all the tricks, so I decided to retire while I was still a hot thing in a small island. Keep the last life for myself. You can never be too careful, All those times I died had made me realise just how much I should respect my life and how easily I could lose it. But then, an offer came. Those blasted Russians. They wanted to test some sort of super gas on me for $1 billion. This was an offer I couldn't say no to. So, to make sure, I recounted all the times I'd died. So we had 1, the poison, 2, the fall, 3, the shooting, 4, the drowning, 5, the cutting up, 6, the hanging, 7, the French poison, and 8 was the bomb thing. 8. I still had 1 extra life left. So, I cut up the deal. They seemed really surprised about how easily I agreed. They said this thing was super strong. They said the room will be super contained and not a sound will be heard from within. I didn't care though, I can do my math just fine. At the arranged time, I flew to Russia with my own plane and I entered the chamber. As the men in their uniforms did their countdowns in Russian, I recounted my tests again. Something was bugging me though, something felt wrong, and it kept fear burning in my heart. I just couldn't figure out what it was. They motioned me into the building and shut the door. But just as the door was closing, I realised it. The cat. Oh, dear gods, the cat. The cat had died during the surgery when the centre was transplanted. That's why the recovery was so sudden. That's why it felt so good and it didn't leave any scars. Oh my god, let me out. I kept punching and kicking the door, shouting, 9 lives. That's it. I don't have anything left. 9 lives. As loud as I could. Then I collapsed. I collapsed. I'm here now. I'm just recalling my entire life. I'm just letting it go out through my eyes. The smoke coming through. It's pumping through the vents. It's coming.